What's up? What's up? What y'all doing? Hopefully everybody's good. I'm sorry, but I was grooving to the music. Everybody out there, you tapping in and tuning in, and I want you right now in the place where you are to begin to move your body like this. Just move it, shake it. Just move your bodies, right? Things are stored in our bodies. You know that? And we want to shake it off, shake it loose, shake it free. Shake it off. Yes, yes, yes. I know that we have between YouTube and Facebook, there's at least 12 of us that are tuned in. I know some other people are going to tune in. We'll average and get maybe 30 people, 40 people between everything. But yes, indeed, it's so good to see you, to have you. Let's go. Who's in the room? Shout out, shout out. Yes, sir. It's so cool to have all my, when you have your consistent, and anybody that want to come along, come on. Mr. Christopher, everyone out there, just go ahead and we're going to thank Mr. Christopher for showing up, coming out this evening, expanding our awareness, expanding our consciousness. Yes, yes, yes. And he's back in the room. Thank you, sir. Mr. Ruben. Everybody that's outside of Chicago. Yes, sir. It's good to see you. You've been on my heart, been on my mind. You're going to love this. You're going to love this. And Life Coach Malachi, he says, this is going to be off the chain. Woo-hoo-hoo. I promise you. The videos and stuff that I find, I mean, like, this is going to be off the chain. You're going to love it. I promise. I promise. Yes, yes. Oh, cool, cool, cool. Blessings all the way from New York. You're going to love this. This evening, we're going to be discussing and we're going to be talking about some things with mental health. Yes, yes, yes. Let me make sure. Okay, good. I don't know what that's typed on there, but we're going to be talking about, this is Mental Health Month. Let me turn that down just a little bit so we'll make sure you can hear me. But this is Mental Health Month. May is the month for recognizing, understanding what mental health is. Everyone has it. Everyone deals with it. And we're going to dive all month. We got some people. We got Miss Dorothy. I got some books before the evening's over. She's going to be with us, who has written a lot of books. And I mean, we got some powerful people in this community. We're going to hear from Bishop Carlton Pearson, like he's here in spirit. He left us a lot of good material. And I think this is going to be worthwhile as we get into this transformation and healing through the trauma, through the drama. Yes, 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 yes. We appreciate you for tapping in and tuning in, and I promise you, you will not regret it, because over here, we're all about transformation, and we got a community that's all about love right here for sure. These are some of the top people in the world that I'm showing here. Miss Dorothy, next, I think it's going to be next week. We're going to work on it. I want to make sure that we want to bring the fire. Hey, hey, lady. How are you doing? I love it. I love to see the picture. Miss Santa. Yes, yes. Thank you for tapping in and tuning in. The kid is probably not being cantankerous at bedtime. You just need to relax. Because I'm not dealing with the kid, that's why. You could always talk about somebody else's kids. If I were you, I would, you ever hear that? If I was you. Hey, Mother White. From Tulsa, Mother White. I am working to have a monthly gathering, Miss Mother White, here in Tulsa, out at Osage Forest of Peace. Beautiful place, facility that we will monthly meet, and then eventually I'll use that same place for retreats. And thank you for the share, because this is worth sharing. If you have people in your sphere that really wants to deep dive into transformation, deconstructing, not for the sake of deconstructing, but just for the sake of finding yourself and becoming who you are. And we're going to talk about some different stuff with mental health and how it, between expanding ourselves and expanding our consciousness. Hey, it's good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ms. Deidre? Yes, you got something coming? Oh my gosh, this is so wonderful. Thank you guys for liking and sharing. We're going to go in this evening. And, this same topic, Bishop had more than one. And I think he's going to bring a very good, we're going to go into some things. I'll talk about it here in a minute. Miss Teresa. Yes. There we go. He's a brother that can talk about some trauma and talk about how we're going to morph, how we work our ways through our traumas, and let's look at the facts. Anybody want to talk about the facts of the matter? Miss Pierre, everybody give a shout out to Mr. Pierre, Doctor. He went to seminary, like Bishop would say, or cemetery. Yes, Miss Grace. Good to see you. Thank you so much. And most definitely, Miss Marie, and anyone else that taps in, tunes in, and comes into this space and in this room. I want you guys to, recognize them. Look at them. Hey, what are you doing? We need it's when you have a community. I really believe that one of the things that, as we go through and we begin to work through some of these things, I didn't even get Instagram going, but as we work through some of these things, I believe that one of the big things that we have to deal with in terms of trauma, and one of the things that we have to deal with in terms of religion and of course, which is spirituality, is how does that affect us? Hey, we got a couple more people in the room that we know that are always Miss Velma. That lady has been hanging tight. Also, before this, continue with the expanded consciousness, Mr. Eugene. Blessings. We appreciate you for coming into this space, into this room. Yes. We're going to make sure we get Instagram going here, because we might have a few people on Instagram that want to tap in. And Mr. Oh, wow. We had so many people jumped in there. Blessed in every area of my life. Make sure you that's your first name. Okay. We like it. We'll go with it. You probably need to abbreviate it. BIEA. Mr. Travis, thank you so much for tapping in and tuning in. Yes. Okay, we're gonna lift you up. You have your friend, someone that was killed. I'm so sorry. We're gonna lift you up. Hey, Instagram, right now we are welcoming everyone here on YouTube. If you're on Instagram and you really want to get a really good, better version of this, so you could see all the videos, you might want to tap in and tune into on YouTube or Facebook if you really want to get kind of an experience. But we're gonna dive right into this space. Hey, distinguish. Hey, hey, hey. I got some of my YouTube, my Instagram family that's on there. Hey, guys, stick around. And if you want, like I said, if you want a real good version, jump over on YouTube. But let's get right into this. And before we begin, I want you all to understand that it's good to what I call is set intention. And when you set intention, is opening up. To me, it would be opening up and allowing, right, for your body and spirit, right, to connect to who you are, right, to your higher self. As we begin to ask our own questions on some of these things that we may have experienced, we're going to discover and we're going to find out a lot of things. But on this episode, as we talk about the transformation or transformative healing from trauma to triumph, and what plays major roles in our lives when it comes to mental health. As you guys probably would understand, and a lot of people don't understand this, but there's a difference between clinical, right? Clinical mental health issues and what we would consider possibly non-clinical issues, things that are reported. There's a special book that is produced by the American Psychological something something, the DSM, right? So basically, psychology, in its essence, to be clear, it's really not that old compared to philosophy and theology. So within philosophy, fix my hair a little bit. Within philosophy, I'm sorry, within theology and philosophy, they go way back. We're just now discovering things about the brain. We're just now, over the last 150 years, we've discovered a lot in terms of the brain. And just in the last 30 or 40 years, we've just now got to the point where we can actually call things like autism out. Hey, Miss Cynthia, all the way from Liverpool. We have some UK, I think Sweden, if I'm not mistaken. I love it as we reach out and connect to the world. Yes, there we go. Miss Deidre, the APA, American Psychological Association, the DSM, right? And that's what they use to diagnose things. And one of the things that, of course, one of the things that I love, of course, some elements of theology and some elements of personal development and some elements of course, science, because all these things play a major role into what we have today. Okay, so here on the show, what we want to really do is I want to deep dive and we want to get into some of the intersections of mental health, spirituality, personal development. Um, and of course, we all know that a lot of us come from some form of religion, or basically most of us would be Christian based. This is America, right? So we understand and know that Christianity has been something that's permeated our space. And so to begin, we're going to deep dive and we're going to hear from some other people as we begin to get into this discussion. And to begin, I would like to um, bring a little bit. Sorry about that, Instagram. Here, you guys stay with us. We're going to flip this over here. So, what we're going to do is we're going to deep dive and we're going to take we're going to take a little adventure and we're going to listen here to, if I can get it to work. Is it that one? Nope, nope, nope. It's coming along, guys. Here we go. Hopefully, to share audio, use a tab. Sorry about this. Is me and this as we try to discover these softwares. I was trying to do something a little different here, but it's not going to be like I want it. So we're going to have to just go for it like this. A way of skipping the ads, but it didn't work for me. I'll have to work on that next week. Here we go. I'm gonna get this posted for you. Here we go. And there's a point that I want to start at within this video. And I believe it's about right there. Here we go. You might recognize this particular person. This is a talk that Bishop, this was about 8 years ago, just to put you into a perspective. 5 minutes and 18 seconds. So to put you in perspective, this is about 8 years ago. And so let's dive into this real quick.
Or query. What are we looking for? Why do we believe the kinds of things we believe, and why do they appeal to us in a conscious way? Why are they important? Religious people tend to be superstitious people, and they believe in things less material, but the less material things they believe in aren't immaterial. They don't consider them to be irrelevant or non-consequential. We people believe, and billions of people believe on this planet believe that religion or spirituality matters, whether it's Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist, Christian, Catholic Christian, Protestant or protesting Christian, agnostic, atheist. Everybody believes in something, even if it's what they don't believe in or the fact that they don't believe. Um, Religion to most people is perceived as relevant, profoundly important, and some call this superstition. If you believe in angels or spirits or gods or demons or demo gods or demon gods or voices and entities, Martians, aliens, that's sort of superstitious. And most religions, if not all of them, are based on that. Even the more earthly ones, like Wiccan, witch religion, that believes in the environment and Mother Earth and hugging trees and taking care of nature. And that's a sort of a very limited definition. But superstition means excessively credulous belief in a in or reverence for supernatural beings or less than natural beings. Super means above, something other than ether, out there, something non-normal or less normal. Okay, superstition is considered to be excessively credulous belief, not just belief, but excessively credulous belief, a widely held but unjustified belief in a supernatural causation leading to certain consequences of an action or an event or a practice based on that belief. So it's sort of abstract, and most people, even people who are not necessarily religious but like to trip out on drugs or kind of have these hallucinatory experiences or out of body experiences or in between world experiences or get high, mind altering drugs. They go someplace, they transcend or transform or transit. The whole idea of a transistor radio and what it means to be able to get signals from and tune into other frequencies, and what's the term? Um, I can't remember right now. Where you go out or you kind of lose yourself. It's an out of this world experience. We like that. All the paranormal stuff they have that these kids are flocking to theaters to see. Some of it like the werewolf series and all that kind of stuff. And it's fantasies, but people believe and imagine things that are less, if not non-scientific. And so that could be considered insanity. Is this just a bunch of insanity? And I don't mean that in a negative way, because if we determine or you determine that it's insane, that doesn't mean it's bad. Sanitation comes from saneness. Is it pure or impure or less pure? Is it contaminated? Is our vision or our perceptions obscured? That's all that means. Insanity, though, means doing the same thing. That's not what it means. But Albert Einstein said insanity means doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now, that's not the most scientific explanation of it, but he just made that statement randomly because he was an experimenter. He was always experimenting and checking and researching, and so he determined that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, the same way, and expecting different results. That kind of sounds like religion. We've been doing the same thing the same way for centuries and
There we
millennia.
go.
And do we expect different results? I remember a profound conversation I had with Billy Graham years ago when he came here for the Oklahoma bombing memorial service in Oklahoma City, and we spent an entire day together, the whole morning, just the two of us and our wives. And he said that he had been in the ministry at that time 50 years preaching the gospel, and it seemed to him he was in that the beginning stage of the Parkinson's. He was actually shaking at the table as we eat breakfast. I remember cutting up his food for him. He said it hurt to even hold a pen. And he was saying it seems like after 50 years of ministering the gospel and preaching all over the world, that the world was actually worse. To him, it seemed worse than it was when he started 50 years ago. Here we'd had at that time the worst act of terrorism on American soil in human history. 100 and almost 170 or 80 people were killed here in Oklahoma City with a bombing. Um, and he was the speaker, and he was trying to figure out how he was going to talk about it. And I closed it. He was the keynote, and I closed it. The governor had asked me to do that. But I remember he was very pensive that morning and very suspicious, if you will, wondering, are we doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results? Is this a form of insanity? The word insanity is from a Latin word insanias, which meaning not, sanas, healthy, unhealthy. Is this are we in a state of mind that prevents normal perception? Are we misperceiving things? Are we in a state of mind that presents normal or prevents normal behavior, normal social interaction? Are we seriously mentally ill? That sounds very slanderous, and I don't mean to sound that way at all. But what about all this stuff? What are we looking for? And is there a better way to approach life or human existence or human encounter? Can things get better? Will they get better? Of course, many times I've heard my parents and other Christians, and I believe for many years, things are going to get worse and worse and worse, wax worse, and to the second coming of Jesus, and he's going to fix everything, and all the bad people are going to hell, and the good people are going to heaven. It's kind of trite. It's sort of superficial, and a little elementary to almost fairy tale-like. It's like a fairy tale to believe that way, but that's what we've been taught. It's offered a little bit of a placebo, a little comfort in the process. There evidently is some illness out here, or some, I don't like to say illness as much as I like to say inaccuracy, some imperceptions and imperfections, wobbly awkwardness that can be tweaked. Mental illness is defined as a condition which causes serious disorder or lack of order in a person's behavior or thinking. What's the difference in disorder and serious disorder? What is disorder? It just means, or unorderly. It just means out of order or confusion. Disorder suggests a state of confusion, lack of understanding, lack of certainty, ambiguity, insecurity. It's the disruption of peaceful or law-abiding behavior or customs, publicly or personally, privately. You can privately feel disorder and confusion and uncertainty and suspicion and paranoia. That's considered a kind of mental illness. That's a form of insanity, impure or inaccurate thinking. How many of us do that, even in our so-called faith traditions? Interestingly, medicine is sometimes defined as a disruption of normal physical or mental functions. Medicine can change or alter normal physical or mental functions. Medicine can. Drugs, pharmaceuticals. It's one of the Greek renditions of the word sorcery. sorcerers, root workers, herbalists, people that use herbs and plants and chemicals to come up with a potion to address an issue. Isn't that something?
It's like, I know that there's probably a lot going on in your thoughts, and so you're wondering where he's going to take this. And I'm gonna just go ahead and just post in the comments, just in case you want to go back and you want to look at anything to do with that. But where we want to follow up is, he kind of was painting a picture not just about mental health and mental illness itself, but also how are we affected with mental illness when it comes to who we are and religious beliefs, right? Who are we when it comes to religious beliefs and mental health? And I have some more here that I want to deep dive in, that kind of correlates with mental health, religious beliefs, but also we want to talk and speak a little bit about trauma, right? And what is it? What is that? And what does that actually mean? We're going to get a little bit into it, but trauma is something that manifests in many forms. And move my notes here, but it comes in many forms, in shapes and perceptions, behaviors and relationships. Whether it stems from childhood experiences or social or societal pressures, cultural expectations, trauma leaves inevitably a mark on our psyche, correct? It leaves something in there on our psyche, and on the journey towards, where are we going, right? Are we just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results? Miss Marie, I see you have there PTSD, and there's a thing called CPTSD, complex. There's a complexity within this because it comes into as this would say, a myriad of forms, right? And one of the things that we can really deal with is when you talk about a disorder or a disruption, and then you talk about a trauma, something that happened in your life, and your brain had a particular reaction to what happened in your life. It's almost like it just put or stamped a mark. Sometimes it can actually take things away from your mind, and you just completely forget. You hear about people that experience certain deep levels of trauma that the brain has a way with not quite erasing, but erasing it from, I would believe, the prefrontal cortex, from the the memory that is right in front of you. In the computer space, you call it random access memory, the RAM, right? What's really interesting, and this is a tidbit that I'll tell you, do you know that as we discover who we are, we take who we are and we play it out into technology? So a computer has some of the same components as the human. That's the reason why you can formulate a computer, is because it has to have RAM, it has to have a hard drive, it has to have all these components that are very similar to us as humans. And as if you go and watch last week, we didn't go too deep into it, but we got a little bit deep. And we start talking about the DNA being able to be the God code, but the DNA has the ability to store information. And literally, when I say that DNA stores information, literally, you could take this stream that I have and you can package this stream into special equipment and software, but special equipment, and literally insert this into a real live double helix DNA, and it could store true digital information. And so, but going back, looking at the traumas that we experience. And one of the things in expanding our consciousness is we have to go down. If you go back 2 episodes, we begin to talk about the shadow. What's that other person that's lurking, or that other uh, um, um, self that you don't see, that you're not seeing, right? A lot of times someone else has to tell you, like, hey, do you know that you're doing this and you keep doing this? For many, religion serves as a source of guidance, and it serves as a source of connection to things beyond who we are. It gets deeply involved with the psyche, and we really can't have the conversation about trauma, about healing, about transformation, about seeing or becoming the higher self. And when we say the higher self, beginning to ask the questions, who am I? Beginning to ask the questions and go within and saying, is this why I am really here? Is this really what I want to be doing? Or is this something that is calling me? Do you know this can also happen not just in what you do for a living, but this can also be the reason why a person may be dealing with weight, you know, overeating, or or dealing with other things that are similar in behaviors, right? If you want to do well in certain aspects of life, it's a lot of things that we are doing that block us, right? The whole point of mental health that I want to really cover tonight, and I want you to really understand and know, is there is a level of mental health that we know that it's best that we bring professionals to get involved in order for this person to have transformation, or in order for these people to be able to uh, receive some level of therapy. And within therapy, really, we would say protocol. And as licensed therapists would have a protocol, right? We're going to give you some level of diagnosis. Here's the diagnosis based on these parameters, based on these tests. And then we're going to give you a protocol. We're going to give you a prescription, not necessarily drugs. You know, we have talk therapy, and then you can go to a psychiatrist, which is basically a medical doctor. A lot of people don't understand the difference between a licensed medical, a licensed family therapist, or a licensed therapist, or a social worker who can do social workers can do levels of therapy. But then you have um, um, a, a psychologist. You can even get your PhD into that. And you can, of course, you have a psychiatrist who would be an individual person that would be a medical doctor, who not only can diagnose, but they can also prescribe prescription drugs. So one thing I want to be clear, um, I want to be real clear, is that if you or know anyone that has experienced or is experiencing things like suicide, experiencing things like uh, um, not just basic for forgetfulness, but you know there's something clinically wrong, that means there's something that needs to be addressed by a professional. And I would want to first, especially being a certified coach, we like to actually make sure that persons understands the difference between um, therapy and coaching, or therapy and a clinical practice, and addressing people's mental health, you know, anger, deep anger issues, or schizophrenia or even personality disorder. And I want to stop right there on that, because the thing is I believe that what we're going to discover is, even from a religious standpoint, that religion can cause us to have personality disorders, and we not really know who we really are. And we don't know how to discover who we really are. And we run into issues or problems because we are trying to appease this angry God, or trying to appease this church, or trying to appease this system that has been in place for hundreds of years, especially within our country. Religion kind of circles discussions surrounding mental health, as we know, but it often goes more towards faith and avoids the clinical understanding, and it pushes a lot of people into, you know, saying God will take something or God will do something, when in essence they could probably help them by the people getting the proper care that they may need, and allowing them to um, go to the right person. I would say even coaching. Most people don't understand that coaching is not mentoring and it's not consulting. As a marketing expert and an expert in video and production and business levels, many levels of business, um, software and manufacturing, all different levels, I know what to do, and I tell you. When it becomes to being a consultant, I know what to do and I tell you. As a mentor, I will use some coaching, but as a mentor, I will allow you to see what I've done and say, here's what I've done. You might copy what I've done, and here's me. I'm going to mentor you and show you a way. Now, within deep level coaching, what that's going to do is that's going to allow you. I'm just going to ask questions, and we're going to go deep within, and we're going to just get a deeper understanding, and you're going to provide your own transformation. You're going to do it, and we use questioning. And I just wanted to get that clear so you guys can understand the differences. But the dichotomy of the church and religion, and as we live and we go throughout life, it's kind of like seeking validation and supporting the traditional belief systems. And so this system is so big, it's so large, and it has so much infrastructure that and money that you begin to believe. You begin to believe what people tell you. And I'm sorry, not sorry, but I'm sorry, but there is a lot of lies, or there are a lot of like disinformation. There's a lot of things that these people have no idea what is going on with people. But here's the other catch. Is this causing more issues than we know? Has this caused more issues than we know? I know it could be or appear or feel kind of controversial, but I believe that it possibly it has. And but we're gonna learn how to break free and do some discussion this evening on breaking free from some of these issues. Now let's take a dive, and we're going to listen to a biologist talk about fundamentalism and mental health.
Time on this show, we've been saying that the line between fundamentalist religious beliefs and schizophrenic or otherwise disturbed mental illness type beliefs is a pretty blurry line. And now an Oxford University researcher named Kathleen Taylor says that one day religious fundamentalism may be considered and treated as a curable mental illness. You surprised? What's your reaction? Is this offensive to you, Lewis?
No, I just don't know if I would agree with that. It seems that if you're born and something is drilled into your brain from day one,
Right.
Believing that wholeheartedly may not necessarily be mental illness.
Well, let's explore what she says further. One of the surprises may be to see people with certain beliefs as people who can be treated. Someone who has, for example, become radicalized to a cult ideology, we might stop seeing that as a personal choice that they've chosen out of pure free will, and may start treating it as a sort of mental disturbance. In many ways, it could be a very positive thing, because there are no doubt beliefs in our society that do a heck of a lot of damage. And she says she's not referring just to obvious candidates like radical Islam, but she's also including, for example, Christian beliefs that beating children is something that God has indicated they should do. We've talked about a lot of those stories, that all of that could be forms of a mental disturbance that could be treated. And I would go even further. I would say, what about the beliefs that repress people's ability to grow, to be creative, to limit their kind of freedoms, or to make them want to limit other people's freedoms based on these beliefs? What do you think, Natan, about this analysis?
Well, I find the potential applications of this pretty distressing, because you can then foresee a time where the government will determine that someone who is against the government and says certain things about it, including some people that we think are ridiculous, like Alex Jones and other people,
right,
and then say that we need to treat them in some cases against their will. So I'm kind of concerned about the idea of medicalizing all of these beliefs. I understand the idea that we're not talking about simple religious people. We're talking about fundamentalism.
Right.
But I think when you apply it to other types of beliefs, I don't think we'll be so hot to think about the consequences.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some cases in which schizophrenia manifests itself in the form of radical religious beliefs.
Yeah.
But in other cases, I think it really is just stupidity and or indoctrination. And like Natan says, this could go in many different directions.
The argument that it's just the way kids are indoctrinated and brought up, couldn't we argue that a lot of commonly accepted mental illness, like, for example, deep depression or schizophrenia, these types of things, while they may have a biological component, that severe trauma in upbringing can certainly bring out those conditions? Wouldn't this be along those same lines?
Maybe, I don't know.
There is some irony to the fact that for a long time fundamentalists have been saying it's gay people that are actually mentally ill, and now not only have we confirmed that gay people aren't mentally ill, we might actually be finding some information there's some theories that it's those fundamentalist beliefs that might be a sign of mental disturbance. There's something ironic there, I think.
I know.
So, what do you guys think in terms of when it comes to what you have personally experienced and what is bubbling up? Because I truly believe that indoctrination, brainwashing, deep depression. He talked about deep depression, indoctrination. The guy also said just pure stupidity. But when does it reach a point where what the actions and things that happen, what you experience, begin to harm, begin to block, begin to hold back, begin to disrupt or disconnect you from life, disconnect you from the experience of having a full life? I know for a fact that there are people on this stream right now that can say without a shadow of a doubt that they experienced some level of trauma, but you cannot apply for a job. You can not accept something that can be better for your life. You could be in a better position if it wasn't for the fact that you have been blocked and you don't believe in yourself, because you have always taken who you are and put it into God, but God really was the church. And then they wanted your money and then said, if you don't give us money. I heard of a story here recently on Instagram. And a man went in before his church and he said, I went and I was checking the books of the church, the accounting, and I found out that there's some people stealing. I found out that people were stealing. And this man proceeds to pull up a mirror and he says, I'll check the tithes and offering, and I could see that these are the people that are stealing from God. What the hell? Now you telling me that if you grew up and you telling me that if you have put your whole heart into this man that's speaking before you, and you have come raw to him, and you have cried, and your whole life is dependent upon what this man has to say, because he holds the keys to the kingdom. He holds the keys to God in the sense that says God approves or that God disapproves. And he tells you that you've been stealing from the church, and he begins to recite Malachi 3:10. And you're telling me that that guilt trip is not going to mentally affect certain people? That guilt trip is not going to affect some people? Listen, I'm sorry, but I will say, let alone with taxes, I'm sorry, but a lot of our mental health issues, when it comes to some of it, just when I say like some levels of depression and some levels of within your upbringing, they were talking about upbringing. They were saying like, it says you should basically beat kids. Some people would consider just spank kids, but you say, spare the rod, spoil the child. I grew up that way, where it was spare the rod, spoil the child. I do not hold any grudges whatsoever against my father or mother. I love them dearly. I fully understand and recognize that until we have a disruption within our consciousness to say, oh, maybe I won't do this, maybe I'll do this. There's a lot that I do that I don't want to do. Right? Mr. Ruben says, they say that you're robbing God, and that's where the trauma starts, right? I'm robbing God. I'm taking from God. We got to separate. One of the things for real, we got to separate God, church, right? We got to separate God from the church. And it's okay if we go ahead and also, we need to go ahead and also pull Jesus out of that box too. So let's go ahead and pull God from the church. They don't own anything to do with God. Let's go ahead and pull Jesus too. Let's save him from the church, right? The Christ. And ultimately, you can even pull levels of Christianity if you want to from that. But I don't think we need more Christianity or more levels or more denominations. I don't think we need that. I think we need to have an understanding that we are and the principles, more of a Buddhist approach, where the Buddhist and Buddhism is not a religion per se, where they want you to convert. It's a belief system, or it is a way of being. And I believe it's kind of interesting if we can adapt that. Adapt the model where I can accept Christ in the consciousness in what he was doing between the ages of 12 and 33, right? The lost books and what the Christ figure was doing between those ages whenever, all that was displaced. I believe that our trauma, I believe that our success, I believe that levels of consciousness can be reached. I believe that we can break free and we can begin to break out of certain levels of spirituality. Let me grab something. You guys don't know it, but next week, I believe Miss Dorothy Mind Snap Social, who is an amazing author that's within our group. Look at this. We're going to be working on something for myself, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm not about having a community and we're not doing anything. I don't want to have a community so we can come back and we can just hear one person speak or talk about something. I love doing it. Don't get it wrong. And I don't think everyone has to do it, but I believe that everyone has a gift. Everyone has a calling. And I believe that one of the things that I want you to get out of this within the understanding of mental health, as we do mental health this month, is their topics, right? Her background is in exactly what we're talking about. Dialogue across generations, right? Finding strength within, right? Awakening the Aquarian age, right? Coming home. But here's the one that I really want to deep dialogue, and she's got cards. We want transformation in this community. And I know there's a lot of people with a lot of experience, and we can all help each other and be a part of I believe that it's not just an awakening, but I believe it's a transformation that is moving us into a whole different place, right? Miss Dorothy is going to be next week, so you'll have a lot of her information. We're working on it. How to get spiritually unstuck. If you go to Amazon, we're going to be talking about some of this next week. How to get spiritually unstuck, right? So this, I believe, is going to be some of her, a lot of her story. She grew up coaching, right? Church of God in Christ. And so one of the things that I want you to really understand and know is that every last one of us that are living and breathing in America has experienced colonization, information when it comes to spirituality. I don't want to just necessarily attack and go after the quote unquote church. I just want you to know that when we have always talked about spirit, SBRIT, when we always talked about spirit in this country, it always, and then when we start, I promise you, if you link spirit between the Greek and Sanskrit, you will discover that it relates to psyche. It relates to the psyche. Sanskrit word for soul, spirit, Atman. It is often associated with the underlying essence or consciousness that pervades all living beings. I got to show you guys that, right? So you guys, I mean, you know how we do it. You know how we do it. We're doing some teachings and some lessons here. So that's the Sanskrit right there is for spirit and also soul. But there's some things that I would like to highlight, in the Hindu philosophy, right? Individual, eternal, individual self. The soul is considered divine and unchanging. Like, so when you start thinking about spirit and soul, and you think about the mind and you think about the body, the spirit is something that is around a human being. It's an aura. You can actually calculate the spirit. You can actually, no different than, there's another guy that I'm gonna have on. He's famous for paranormal, and he's got TV shows. Christopher, you can find him. I need to get him scheduled. And he actually is a paranormal. He knows how to literally find ghosts. He's really neat, though. He lives in Chicago. And but the thing is like when you think spiritual, right? Spiritual is different than spirit. I don't know if you're going to hear that anywhere. I've never heard it because it was downloaded to me. It was literally a download, and my downloads comes all kinds of different ways. But spirit and spiritual are different because spiritual or spirituality, right, can take on many forms, and you end up with all kinds of stuff. But it is often associated with the underlying. I got to pay attention to my time. It is often associated with the underlying essence or consciousness that pervades all living beings. That's powerful. All living beings. There was let's see. Me and my Spirit Jungian, it was so you know what this is, right? This is Carl Jung, right? Carl Jung gets involved in transpersonal psychology. So transpersonal psychology is when you can use psychology to get involved with the spiritual essence. And in America, it's more in the UK than America, but you do have some transpersonal folks that are transpersonal psychologists, right? This is a quote, spirit like God denotes as an object or psychic experience which cannot be proved or exist to external world, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to get too deep in this. But what I really want you to, the conscious rather than the unconscious. So this quote right here, if we are to do justice to the essence of the thing we call spirit, we should really speak of a higher consciousness rather than of the unconsciousness. This is also the man that says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That is paraphrase. Until you, I want you guys to remember this. It's like until you make the, this is something I really want you to remember. Because what's the point of talking about consciousness and conscious growth and higher consciousness and, awakening and all that BS? I mean, it's all cool and it's all fun and games, right? Until you face the shadow. It's all like the whole point of talking about mental health tonight and this evening. The whole point of talking about mental health tonight and this evening, we covered clinical and what that is. But what we want to talk about mental health this evening is about you, about me, about how we can change our lives. If we begin to recognize, we begin to understand. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. What that statement truly means, and y'all gonna have to forgive me, I'm gonna be myself. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life or you'll call it fate. Enough with your bullshit. Enough with it. We sabotaging. We ain't coming out when we supposed to come out. We ain't doing what we supposed to be doing at times, right? We ain't being led, or we hear spirit, but we're not doing what we supposed to. Then we make excuses. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it's going to direct your life. It's going to direct you. You're going to be like, oh, it's just not meant to be. Listen, this lady got 17,000 books, literally. She working on her 17,001 book. I mean, you know, that's a little bit of, that's kind of a, you know, exaggeration. But bringing your full self, I don't want to be just coming up. I want us to be together, and we're going to all be growing, and we're going to all be hearing stories of how we joined the expanded conscious community, and we have been able to grow. We've been able to learn together. We've been able to cross over into another place in our life. You got to make the unconscious conscious. How do I make the unconscious, what I'm not aware of, my psyche, locked into my spirit? How do I make this and make it become more aware? One is being in community. That's the reason why the church gets you, because they get into your psyche, they get into your levels of consciousness, and they get into your psyche, and then they take control of your psyche. And we're about to find out more. See, Life Coach Malachi doesn't just sit here and be like, I know it all. Like, listen, there's this thing called Google and YouTube and Chat GPT, and there's too many resources now. There's too many resources. Y'all can't play us anymore. We're finding the information. And how religious beliefs and spirituality impact mental health.
Or religion लोगों के life का अहम हिस्सा है. And when it comes to mental health, the situation is no different. A research conducted by Schizophrenia Research Foundation showed that over 70% people in India first seek help from faith or traditional healers for some weeks or months before turning to mental health practitioners. And this behavior has hardly changed over the last few decades. The relationship between faith and mental health within India is an ancient one. Many places of worship in India have often served as asylums and places of cure for those afflicted with mental health issues. Not all of them are helpful, but to completely dismiss the role of faith and religious communities in better mental health would be inaccurate. 2001 में तमिलनाडु के इरावदी में स्थित फेथ बेस्ड मेंटल हेल्थ एजाइलम में 28 पेशेंट्स की मौत हुई उस जगह आग लगने की वजह से. They were chained to poles as part of their treatment and couldn't escape when fire broke out. Following this, the Supreme Court of India ordered the preparation of a factual report on faith healing institutions and monitoring of such establishments. ये बात सच है कि faith healers are popular as they seem inexpensive and accessible as opposed to mental health care experts. Kishore Kumar, director of the Banyan, a non-governmental organization offering mental health services, told in an interview to Devex that religious and faith healers give external causes for a person's illness or disorder. Is the fault in the stars? The gods are angry. Unfinished business of ancestors, and so on. But in allopathic care, a mental health care practitioner will link the causes to the self, and that can be hard to accept. Spirituality and religion can be helpful to manage stressful life events and improve your mental health. Here are a few ways in which spirituality and religion can help your mental health. अगर आप किसी spiritual या religious community के part हैं, You may have more support and friendship. You may find it helpful to feel connected to something bigger than yourself. It may help you to make sense of your experiences. आपको ऐसा फील हो सकता है कि आपको स्ट्रेंथ या होप मिल रहा है अपनी स्पिरिचुअलिटी और रिलीजन में, and it can be important to you when you're unwell. You may feel more at peace with yourself and other people around you. Rituals can have a therapeutic impact because they set a routine and give you things to do. Although religious and spiritual beliefs may be empowering, कुछ beliefs आपके लिए हानिकारक भी हो सकते हैं. They may lead you to feel guilty or in need of forgiveness and have a bad effect on your mental health. कई बार कुछ faith healers ये भी बोलते हैं कि you're possessed by demons or spirits. Others may say that mental illness is a punishment for something you have done wrong in this life or before. These beliefs can be unhelpful and might stop you from getting professional help when you need it most. However, at a meeting by National Human Rights Commission in 2017 followed that a collaborative approach may be very beneficial for people in India struggling with mental wellness. Instead of dismissing the faith and religious beliefs of people, working with it might prove more helpful in raising better awareness about mental wellness. In a country like India, where religiosity is high, as a Pew survey recently reported, the best solutions can emerge from working with cultural systems. A few projects currently exist in India जहाँ faith और mental health care को साथ लाया गया है. From the Banyan in Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra to the Dawa and Dua project in Gujarat's Unnava, these collaborations have been popular among those seeking mental wellness. अगर आपको ये वीडियो अच्छा लगा, प्लीज इसे लाइक और शेयर करें और हमारे
So I did this was unique. And what I have found is that, and it was kind of unique because one of the things is religion and Hinduism, and you could still have an orthodox version of Hindu, and they still also can even more greatly deal with people wanting to go to the temple to get healing, when they also can learn to do some of this within. And it goes, now you're going back to Buddhism. Although there are still some practices, and it's not as hard on the conversion. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, Abrahamic faiths are almost like conversion based. Christianity, Western, is probably the most conversion based. It's like a sporting event. It's like it's a contest. And so the trauma that you can experience because of the sporting side of it, she mentioned, and she talked about 70% of India goes to a healer. And I believe it's possibly that they can get some results because they use different practices and things are going within. And it's not just an external prayer that is like begging and asking and thank you, God, you're helping and heal, right? And it can actually work. I believe it has worked because the person and their faith. But as we move forward and we look at community and we look at mental health in terms of who we are today, and as we deal with our own mental health, as we take this month out and we begin to, I want everyone to begin in this month to what we call consecrate in our space, or she mentioned rituals. There's some other videos I can show you about spiritual, how we have sacred practices. There is nothing wrong, and I think there's some things that can help us as humanity by paying more attention and developing some more practices, more sacred practices in our lives. I believe that we can lose some things because we think there's no point into doing a lot of the things that we did in the church. And that is absolutely true. Although I think there were some things that we would do in the church that were um, um, good for your soul, right? Taking moments out, bringing people together, focusing energy on each other, focusing energy, right? I believe there's some good sacred practices that can provide us presence to slow down. Anybody out there that needs to slow down, right? And being able to be present. How do you be present? Tell me, how do you be present? Breaking free from the chains of religious constraints requires courage, introspection. It's about reclaiming agency over our mental health journey, recognizing the healing, transcending dogma and doctrine. For me in this channel, we talk a bit about this because I believe as we can overcome some of these things, a lot of these things, or all of these things, and begin to embrace holistic approaches to our own mental health, this is what can pave the way for transformative healing and personal growth. One of the things I researched and I talked about a little bit was the ancestral healing and a journey towards healing that is within us and within our connection to our ancestral lineage. Because if you look at a lot of mental health, it is and has been seen, and you can actually pinpoint and know. You may not know this, but you're going to find out today that I was 18, 19, so 20. So by the time I was 18, I began to work as a paraprofessional in the high school. While I was in high school, paraprofessionals work with developmental disability kids that are high enough level that you can work, that they would be in the school, but you knew of their cognitive abilities. Then we would call it mental retardation. From there, I began to work in various facilities, leaving high school, and I worked as a liaison within a developmental disabilities / home health agency. And then I became a mental retardation technician. Then it turned to developmental disabilities technician at a state institution in the state of Kansas. And I have spent a lot of my time. My father-in-law was the superintendent and the overseer of the state hospital facility, who is a behavioral psychologist. So for 20 years, I've been married for 25, but for literally like 20 years, I have spent a lot of time with a behavioral psychologist, and in doing a lot of psychology myself. My associate work was in developmental disabilities. And so recognizing, realizing, understanding, working in that environment from head injury to, I mean, you name it. So, you begin to work with people, we call them IEPs. You work with different things with psychologists and things for people. So I'm telling you all that because there are some IEPs that we can have for ourselves. That is a protocol. It's not necessarily just you need to do this, but when we start looking at ancestral healing and the practices that we confront with the generational trauma and patterns, right, that can open up and liberate us, we can begin to understand that, wait a minute, mama was like this and grandma was like this. And then, like daddy was like this. And then he had an anger problem and this one had a problem. And part of that is not just within you as in like your DNA. It is probably within the nurture. We do the nature and the nurture. And there's some nurturing, right? And not nature. that has functioned in your life. And you have to be able to recognize it. That's the unconscious becoming conscious. And the thing is, how do we do that? And one of the things we know is the power of community. Developing your own rituals, getting up at a certain time in the morning. Getting up at a certain time in the morning. I'm gonna begin, but when I begin to we're gonna not just the private community, but then we have some paid communities, and therefore it's like if you want transformation, you got to set the record straight. When are you getting up? When are you going to bed? And what do you do before you go to bed? And what do you do after you get up? Do you get straight to your phone? I'm guilty of it. Yes, that is an IEP, right? Hitting the snooze button. That's fine. Hit the snooze button. But if you want transformation, Malachi, if you want transformation, you know you need to not just be like on the phone searching for content, calling yourself a creator when you just wasting time. Feeling guilty and punishment, all those things can be layered trauma and cause various issues. I see you guys talking about some depression and religious trauma. And how do we get through that? And how do we go through that? We're going to spend this month deep diving as we use the power of community to central to our healing journey, and surrounding ourselves with all of us like-minded individuals and this quest for self-discovery. This is invaluable. I promise you, this is invaluable in the spirit as we have a communal healing. See, the communal healing is when we all take this moment and take this space, create a space for belonging, a space for acceptance, and a space for understanding. This is fostering a culture. See, this is what I call expanded consciousness. When we can enter into a space, right? We can enter into a space and know that it's time and it's a moment in life. What's the odds of you being here this moment, this time, listening to me as I just allow the spirit and the essence of everything that I have experienced and been and find myself within spending this time with you? Deep breaths in from your diaphragm down from the root chakra to the sacral. That's in your gut, that's in your sexual organs, and you pulling it up to the heart, to the throat, to the pineal gland. Deep breaths, pull it up. Transformation is here now. Pull it up, release it, let it go. Breath work, meditation, all of this stuff is really simple. It's a matter of developing the practice and put it in your day. Develop the practice and put it in your day. Again, just pay attention and monitor your breath. I want you guys to remember that healing is not a destination. It's a continual journey of self-discovery, personal growth, connecting to the higher self. Molecules and the molecular structure of God is within every cell of your body. Deep breath in, pulling the energy and imagining that energy is inside your body. As you breathe, just let it go. Embrace all of your vulnerabilities right now. I want you to confront some of your traumas, knowing that, you know what, this was not good, and I don't know if I like this, and this happened to me, and that happened to me. Only you can maybe understand. But freedom is not necessarily I believe what you want, because then it's a whole nother talk. It brings something else that you could be a slave to for that freedom. But what you're doing is release, and you want healing. You want connection. You want to nurture the spirit and unlock the potential within you beyond your belief. You're worthy of healing, worthy of love, capable of triumph over adversity. It is your destiny. I promise you, it is your destiny to go within. It is your destiny to connect to the higher self. It is your destiny for the God self to work in you. It is your destiny for you to connect to the life that you want to live. As you breathe and you pay attention to your breath, the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and what's real. And so you can begin to believe and to see and to, more importantly, feel. Neville Goddard said the feeling is a secret. And so did Reverend Ike said the feeling is the secret. So begin to feel the healing that you want. And how do you begin to feel that healing that you want, that you deserve, that you already have right now? See, I believe in expanded consciousness. I know that the consciousness is expanding, but I believe in the expanded consciousness. The expanded conscious means that in it is already done. It's already expanded. We're just walking into it, and we're the ones expanding, but in God, it's already expanded. Won't make me want to say, hey, give me the keys to the Honda. The new one. Feel glory, feel joy, feel love. Breathe it in. Breathe it in. And ask the spirit guides around you to show you the way. Thank you for the doors that are open today. Thank you for the doors that you are opening for me and allowing me to walk into my destiny, to walk into my calling, to walk into my gifts. The energy and the power that we have amongst each other within this space, all is governed on how we can all align to who we are, knowing that we are pure love. Pure love, pure love, pure love, heart-centered right now. Everyone, heart-centered right now. And this is power within that it's reaching, as they say, to the heavens and the space within the space within the space. There's endless space. Deep breath. And this one, I want you to just slowly release. And when you release it, don't take a breath in just yet. Monitor as you release and don't take a breath in. Because your body's going to fight you. It's going to tell you, you need to take the breath in. You need to take the breath in. But do you really know that it really wants to get rid of more of the toxins than it wants to bring in the breath? It really would rather get rid of the toxins, even though we need oxygen. And then when you take that in, after you hold it as long as you can, I want you to pull and you feel it from the core, from your root, from like your tailbone, your sacral chakra, and just pull that breath in. Pull it up, pull it up, pull it up. This is going to take that trauma that's in there. It's going to take these things that have been lurking and just sitting in your body, and it's going to bring you into the wholeness and the fullness thereof. Thank you. That's what's in your heart right now. Just say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Not it. Thank you. Thank you. I thank you. I thank you, feet. I thank you, legs. I thank you, stomach. I thank you, heart. I thank you, liver. I thank you, body. I thank you, skeleton. I thank you, mind. I thank you, arms. I thank you, heart. I thank you, thank you. I thank every part of me. Now, I want you to thank everyone that's in the room. Thank everyone that's in the room. Thank everyone that's in the room. I thank you. I thank you for being in this space at this time. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Yoshi. Thank you, Miss Dorothy. I love you, Miss Dorothy. Thank you, Miss Marie Simmons. Thank you, Brother Christopher. I thank you so much for you showing up, not just at this space, but I thank all of you for showing up for yourself. Clayton, I thank you for showing up for you. When you get up, I thank you. You want to just give it every day. I give glory to God and give this to God. God is like, I'm giving it to you. I don't need your thanks. I don't need your worship. Why do I need your worship? I'm holy by myself. Recognize me. Recognize it within you and the power within you. Miss Velma, I thank you. Mr. Rubin, I thank you so much for all that you have done and all that you've experienced and all that you've pushed forth in your life. Miss Osara, I thank you. Miss Grace Jones, I thank you. Miss Deidre, I thank you. Miss Teresa Winston, I thank you for you. Miss Gwendolyn, I thank you. Everyone, just thank everyone. Ooh, gosh. Transformative power in the synergy. I feel you guys so much right now. Like, I feel you guys so much right now. Is it Tanja? Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Miss Stana, thank you so much for tapping in and tuning in tonight, but also I thank you for showing up in the morning for you, showing up for your kids. I thank you, and you should thank you. Thank you. Thank yourself. Love yourself by thanking yourself. Mmm. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Mm. Yes. I like that, Miss Dorothy. Thank you, Dorothy, for allowing me to experience you. Yes. Yes, I love it. Thanking yourself. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want you to thank yourself. And not only that, in this month of mental health, I want you to write a letter. Man, man, you guys, man, I'm telling you, people will spend thousands of dollars for this. But I want you to write a letter. I want you to write a letter. And I want you to write it by hand. And I want you to write that letter to yourself. And I want you to write that letter to yourself as a child. What would you say to the child self? Especially in the insecure moments, or especially in those moments of doubt, especially in those moments of feeling lost. I want you to encourage that child. I want you to see what that child has to say. I want you to ask that inner child questions, and and I want you to write a letter to your younger self today, or sometime before next week. Mm. Meditation and finding a sacred space and finding good food. All these things matter, folks. Okay? All of these things matter. I don't know if Mrs. Rose left, but thank you, Miss Rose. That's the young lady that I met. I met her at a restaurant or something. She's former Mormon, and I want to acknowledge you, and I want you to, because she went through some things. There it is, Miss Rose. Yes. I wanted to just point it out, and I want you to make sure that you thank yourself. Love yourself and thank yourself. Travis, and you're blessed in every area of my life. I want you to, everybody, just make sure that you thank yourself, love yourself. Narcissism and things of that nature is a whole different thing when it comes to, because I don't even think they can actually thank and truly love themselves in this manner. They need someone else to do it. They need someone else to love them and say that they love them. They need someone else to outwardly project and give them that energy. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I've kept you for an hour and a half. I'll be going long. But I appreciate you. Don't forget divineauthenticself.com. I'm just collecting all the emails that I can as I begin to just work myself through a lot of different things as I'm moving. I'm working myself through a lot of things, and from doing shadow work, not having and being around Bishop, and now just trusting and believing myself. And not only that, is just, going forth, going with it. And it's a process, but I enjoy the journey, right? I'm learning so much in my life right now. I mean, I'm learning more, of course, right now, I believe, than I ever learned about myself, about the world, about truly what expanding consciousness is. I have conferences and things like that I would love to have. I like retreats and all these things I want to do, but that takes a lot within oneself to not just throw something together and just know that this is how important it is, and you have to have your heart and you have to have your soul connected, right? I believe I've been left with a legacy of expanded consciousness and expanding consciousness that's about transformation and growth. It's about moving and putting out in the atmosphere not another, but the next essence, the iteration of who we are in Christ consciousness. That's the Cash App, $ Malachi Gross. That's the Venmo at Malachi Gross. I appreciate you for everything and all that you are, all that you do. And to ultimately understand this is that the mental health that we have experienced in today, our ability to connect to it and to make the unconscious conscious, so that we don't call fate to our insecurities and not moving forward with the gifts and calling that God has given us, and we're not doing anything with them. Carlton Pearson told me, it says that God will make room. God will give you gifts that makes room for you. And Carlton said, and this was personally, he said, I want to know when you're going to make room for your gifts. If he's going to make room for your gifts, when are you going to make room for it? Your gifts to make room for you. It's about time you make room for it yourself. You just go out and doing, and you're not doing what you called to be doing because you're afraid. A lot of it has to do with trauma, personality disorder, but we're going to overcome that. All right, we're going to overcome it, and we're going to learn to be, and to learn to love, and to learn to be set free. All right, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tapping in and tuning in. Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and throw some shout outs here. Yes, Miss Gwendolyn, we love you. You're so beautiful and so awesome. This part right here really makes me miss Bishop. We used to end this and then we would have a conversation. It's amazing that it's done. But I have you guys. Miss Marie. Hello, ma'am. Miss Stana. Miss Grace. Thank you. Thank you so much. Miss Dorothy, we got some stories. She helped me during the funeral. We'll talk about that next week during the show. All right, sir. Everybody see that? Look what he said. He said, I'm going to make room for my gift. I'm going to be checking your page. I want to see if you have something to say. I'm going to check somewhere. I want to know what it is. And yeah, you're going to have to bring it to the stage. So, yes, indeed. All minds, as they used to say, all minds clear. Ooh, thank you, sir. If you guys haven't met him, somewhere around online, Mr. John Thomas, he also has absolute love. Absolute love. Hey, look at that sweet picture there. That's so beautiful. All right, I love it. Miss Yoshi says, write things down what you want to release that's been holding on. Yes. Love yourself, forgive yourself, release yourself, and thank yourself. Are you doing that? Just want to make sure. Thank you guys so much. It's so awesome. Go through all my links. Yep, there we go. There we go. You guys have a wonderful, beautiful evening. Have a beautiful evening. Love you so much. We'll see you back next week. Bye-bye.